another edition of Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me as always is new Mike L, Kevin Jank.
Hey, I like that you said edition this time. Made it sound like a comic book or something.
Yeah, I always get confused about that because I always say issue because I'm thinking of like comic books, but really it's an episode. So this one I went a little different edition. I don't know.
Yeah, this is like the morning paper.
Yeah, I'd rather just call them issues. But yeah, so it's a new edition of Flea Market Fantasy. And Jank, this week, it is your choice of book.
Mm-hmm. That is correct. And I picked a book called Power Pack, issue number 53 to be precise. This issue where the Power Pack fights Typhoid Mary.
Yeah, it seems odd that they'd be fighting Typhoid Mary.
Yeah.
And this book is very odd.
It's crossover, which was all about different villains mixing it up with different heroes that we're not used to.
Yeah, Acts of Vengeance. It was a fall crossover in 89-90, and like you mentioned, they just put different. I have no recollection of this. Like I was just getting out of comic books probably around this time, 90, 91. But then I was reading up on it a little bit, and I did remember I had a Spider-Man where it said I guess Loki was the brains behind all this.
Yeah.
Right? And about this time in the Spider-Man, he had Captain Universe's powers, like I believe you just said. So, he had these crazy powers, and he fought the Tri-Sentinel.
Yeah, right.
Was that Loki put the three Sentinels together, right? And Tri-Sentinel?
Yep.
And I believe I have that issue. So then I was like, oh, all right, well, I remember that. But I don't remember. I guess this was a crossover mainly for the Avengers and Fantastic Four, mostly because
I think it did cross over into all the books too, though, because like I've read some of them before. Like the X-Men ones were basically the ones where they were dealing with Psylocke becoming Asian and they had to fight the Mandarin. I don't think it really tied into Vengeance, other than the fact that the X-Men were fighting the Mandarin.
That's right. So, I do remember that because I had that X-Men as well.
The Daredevil one, he ended up fighting Ultron, which is just great.
Oh, okay, I do remember that. I have that one as well. All right, so now I am remembering these now.
Yep.
But, I guess they said, when I was reading the little Wikipedia description of it, I guess they said the previous years they had done crossovers with all the X books. So they wanted to do something that involved the Avengers and Fantastic Four primarily. But apparently the X-Men were tied into it.
I think the main parts of the story are in the Avengers books. Which is weird because normally when they do these big crossovers, it's like you have like a mini series, like you have Secret Wars 2, and then there's all these, tie-in books in the regular monthly books. But there was no main series. So it's like, I don't know which ones of these I need to read or not. Which one's the main story? But I think it's the Avengers stuff pretty much.
Yeah, that always gets a little confusing. I guess the X-Men, they had their Fall of the Mutants and the Mutant Massacre and stuff. You would have to, that was the main title doing it, but then you'd have to read, well, Mutant Massacre also had Thor in it, right? And
yeah, that's right. And Power Pack, actually, yeah.
That's right. Wolverine showed up in the Power Pack.
Yeah.
Still wasn't enough for me to buy that Power Pack, though, when I was...
I think that's the one Power Pack I own, actually, is I bought that one.
Yeah, still not enough. All right, so what is the Power Pack or our Power Pack or what is whatever. Issue 1 came out in August 1984, and this was created by Louise Simonson and June Brigman, the artist, and it lasted 62 issues. It ended in 1991. Now I don't know if you know this, Jank, but after the series ended, also in 1991, they filmed a TV pilot.
Oh wow.
And you can find that TV pilot on the interwebs. If you just search for a Power Pack TV show, it'll come up. And I just fast forwarded through it real quickly, but it's interesting. I don't know, but it did not get picked up. It did not get picked up.
That does not surprise me. A lot of Marvel projects did not get picked up around that.
Yeah,
do you remember they made Generation pilot? There was like a 2-hour long pilot.
Wait, you cut out there. What did you say, Jen?
Did you ever see the Generation X movie that was supposed to be like a pilot for a series?
I think that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was like probably 95, 96, somewhere around there.
Was it? Well, did the guy who played Max Headroom, was he Charles Xavier?
I
Matt
don't know.
Fuhrer or whatever his name is.
I don't even know if
See,
Professor X was in it because he's not really a main. I mean, he may have been in like one scene or something.
Because I seem to recall them doing something with him as Xavier back in the 90s, and it didn't get fit. I can't remember what.
Interesting.
Normally, this would be the part of the show where we Google things, but I don't feel like it.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole. We're here to talk about Power Pack.
So Power Pack.
Like pilot looked. Did it look like the 94 Fantastic Four movie? That level of quality.
It looked. When I looked at it, I said, "Hey, is this an episode of Small Wonder?" That's what I thought. I saw it. If, for those who remember Small Wonder, about a little robot girl. Kind of like, hey, is this Small Wonder? Yeah, so that's the vibe I got off it.
Nothing but the best.
Yeah, it's a little weird. So Power Pack, they're 4 superpowered siblings. You have Alex, who in the series starts, he's 12. Julie, 10. Jack, 8. And Katie, 5. And they were the first series to feature preteen superheroes in Marvel continuity, and also the first comic book series to feature children of this age acting without adult supervision.
Ooh. Comics Authority is not going to like that.
I know. And the stories in the book, they focused a lot on social issues and morality concerns, such as like child abuse, homelessness, bullying, that sort of thing. Basically after-school specials. They're all kind of
yeah. Sounds about right.
Power Pack was relaunched in 2005 outside of mainstream Marvel continuity. I was not aware. Were you aware of that? I didn't know that.
Outside of Marvel continuity? No, I didn't know that.
But I guess they've been several Power Pack limited series and different things over the years. But
yeah, they always try to bring them back. People are always kind of lukewarm on the whole idea, but they keep trying.
I mean, it seems like a gangbusters idea. You got these for kids, as a team of kids. They think, oh, this will help kids get into comic books, but not really.
I think kids are the audience for this stuff theoretically. So yeah, it's a good idea. I don't know if the execution's there, but.
So Power Pack got started because Jim Shooter wanted all his editors to also be writers for some reason. He was trying to push them to, I don't know if it was his idea to help them understand the process better or whatever, but he kind of wanted all his editors to be writers. Louise Simonson, she kind of resisted that because she didn't want to take jobs away from writers. So she thought, I should just stay as an editor. But then Marvel hired additional editors and her workload got cut in half as an editor. And she said, hey, I might want to start being a writer now, too. So, but she still didn't want to take anyone else's job. So she said,
being a writer.
She said, I'm going to come up with my own idea. I'm going to come up with my own idea. And she came up with the idea of Power Pack. And she wrote 37 of the first 41 issues. So this was really her. Yeah, this was her baby there. I think June Brigman, she did like the first 10 issues somewhere around there. Can't remember. But, so then, do you know the backstory of Power Pack? Like how they got their powers and everything?
Somewhat. I know it involves alien technology and, some horse people.
Yes, that's right. It was a dying alien called Whitey.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think he looked like a horse. Like a horse alien. And he was white. And he was a scientist of the Kymelian race, Kyme. I don't know if I probably typed that wrong. But he was an alien scientist, and he was dying. His ship came to Earth, and he transferred his 4 superpowers to each of the Power children. Yeah, that's why they're called Power Pack, because they're 4 siblings, and their last name is Power.
Yeah, real on the nose. Yeah. Maybe you should have thought that one a little bit more.
So the first, so the different powers that they got, Whitey had mass control. He could turn his body and make it like heavy or light or into a gas or whatever. He gave that to Jack. And then he gave his energy manipulation to Katie, his flight to Julie, and his gravity control to Alex. In issue 25, their powers were temporarily stolen and then rearranged upon return. So they just switched them around.
Yeah.
So I have no idea who went to what or whatever. Because they all had little code names as well. Do you remember their code names at all?
One of them's like Star Streak or something like that.
Yes, something. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And then like Energizer, I don't know, whatever.
Mass or something.
GMass or
Yeah.
something like that.
UMass Damashek.
Yeah. but they swapped their powers there in issue 25, yet they didn't switch their costumes because their costumes were all like color coded and all kind of had to do with their powers. Little design. So even though they swapped powers, they didn't change costumes. And then they didn't switch their costumes finally, and they did it in issue 47. So they finally get the new powers, new costumes. Then in issue 52, the power swapped again. So it's like, what are we doing?
This is what you end up with when all the editors are writing books instead of editing.
Yeah, I kind of like it doing it the one time. That's kind of cute. A little gimmick, switching the powers around. But to finally get the right costumes, issue 47, and then 5 issues later, swap the powers again. What are we doing? What are we doing?
That's rough. The full power swap would be fun for like an issue or two, but yeah, to be doing it for long stretches of time and then swap back and stuff, it's just weird.
Also, Jank, there was a 5th member of Power Pack. Do you know who that was?
Franklin Richards, the only other child in the universe, basically.
That's right. Franklin Richards, the little boy of Sue and Reed Richards. He was a part-time member of Power Pack, and he became a member there in issue 17. And I guess he often spent time with the Power family when his parents were away.
Which is probably a lot.
Yeah. God bless the Power family for taking in another kid. They've really taken all kind of superhero strays because apparently they took in a blind Dagger in this issue. Yeah. Well, I don't think she was living with him, was she? She was just like, or was she?
Oh, I don't know.
It kind of seemed like she was getting, yeah.
Yeah, she way around the place very good.
But she was where was she the rest of the book though? She just was in that beginning scene and then, I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, Dagger is in this book. We'll talk about her later. But there's also another prominent character in this book, Typhoid Mary.
Oh, yeah.
We both love Typhoid Mary. She's one of my favorite characters in of Marvel. And I didn't really know a lot about her recent history, though, so you can fill me in on that when we get there.
Sure.
But do you know anything about the real Typhoid Mary? Like the actual historical figure.
Yeah. I mean, obviously she's blamed for spreading disease.
Yeah.
Whether any of that's true, I don't know. But
yeah,
that's about all.
True. So her real name is Mary Mallon, and she was an Irish-born American cook who infected between 51 and 122 people with typhoid fever, killing at least 3, possibly as many as 50. Mallon was an asymptomatic carrier, and this was in the late 1800s and stuff, so people didn't understand germs and bacteria and things like that. So she actually lived to be 69, but she was forcibly quarantined 2 times, and she spent the final 30 years of her life in isolation, basically. That's right.
Yeah.
So typhoid causes
Yeah.
Wait, what was that?
Not even her fault. Like, how is she supposed to know she has it if she's asymptomatic?
Well, that's the thing. It kind of was her fault. Well, we'll get into that in a minute. But typhoid causes high fever, weakness, headaches, abdominal pain, constipation, and mild vomiting. So, it's just mild vomiting. It's not bad.
Yeah.
And
get that from a night of drinking.
Sometimes you'd also get a skin rash there. It is spread by eating or drinking food or water contaminated with the feces of an infected person.
Uh-oh. I'm starting to see how this is her fault.
Yeah. Wash your hands, Mary. Risk factors include limited access to clean drinking water and poor sanitation. All right, so this Mary Mallon, she was working as a cook for some well-to-do families in the New York area and stuff. And but whenever she showed up somewhere, suddenly there'd be a breakout of typhoid in the household and stuff, and people would get sick. And then because of the typhoid, she would leave. And And after this happened 3 or 4 times, someone started putting the pieces together. Say, hey, wait a minute. What's going on with this lady? She's always here, and then she leaves. So they track her down, and she didn't want to give any specimens or anything so they could study, see what's going on. And so it was a big deal. They had to forcibly, quarantine her first time. And she kept saying, because again, this is late 1800s, early 1900s. People didn't understand, bacteria and shit. So she's like, there's nothing wrong with me. I feel fine, The concept of an asymptomatic carrier didn't really make sense. So they eventually release her from the first quarantine. And they said, all right, but you have to promise you won't be a cook again. All right. You can't be cooking food for people, And she says, all right, yeah, that's a deal. So, she goes out there in the world, and, the 2 big jobs you could have back in the day, for ladies there, usually were working in laundries, being a laundress or, cooking, So a laundress paid $20 a month. Cook paid $50 a month.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's what Mary said. So Mary kept working as a cook. So that's where it's kind of her problem. That was kind of her fault.
Yeah. I mean, all of this sounds like a good plot if they ever bring back Party Down.
They are bringing back Party Down.
Oh, here we go. Every party they go to starts getting typhoid.
I just saw this. I meant to talk about it on the LCS show a couple weeks ago because I saw it when I was looking at those best TV shows of the year or whatever. And Party Down's coming back, I think, in February 2023. Adam Scott's there, but no Lizzie Kaplan.
Oh.
So what's the point?
Yeah.
If Lizzie Kaplan's not there, why are you doing this?
Doing it. I hate when they do that. They bring things back, but it only has part of the cast, and it's like, oh, this is disappointing now.
Well, I think it has everybody except her. So, who knows? Maybe she'll pop up once or twice. Maybe conflicting schedules or something.
Yeah.
But that's a bummer. I was so excited when I saw, Party Down. Then, no Lizzie. What the fuck? All right, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you waited this long, why not wait another couple months and wait till she's free?
Or maybe she just said, yeah, I don't want to do it again.
Yeah. Possible.
Yeah. All right, but anyway, so this Typhoid Mary Mallon, she just kept working as a cook, and eventually more people got sick, so they forced quarantined her again, and it was a big deal. But it raised a lot of ethical questions about whether you could take someone against their will and quarantine them. Where did we hear that? That recently happened. Oh yeah, all over the world the last 2 years. So it's an interesting story, this Mary Mallon. Yeah.
So once you have it forever if you're an asymptomatic carrier, you have it for life?
Apparently they tracked it down, like she had it in her gallbladder, they believed. And like it was concentrated in her gallbladder, and they wanted to remove her gallbladder, but she refused. Because back then, like gallbladder surgery was much riskier than it is today,
Sure.
Today it's pretty common. Back in, 1897, you could die from a gallbladder surgery. So she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. So.
I barely knew what the gallbladder was. They're like, we're just going to take things till we get it.
But, what a life. So I think she eventually ended up, some doctor guy had her working in a lab with him, like she was like his assistant in a lab or something. But it's a fascinating. I wonder, someone's had to have made a movie about her, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
That'd be great.
Yeah, there's got to be one.
But anyway, she inspired Typhoid Mary, our beloved character. And our Mary's name is Mary Walker. Although I saw something like her. She was born Layla or something. Did you ever hear this? She was born Layla?
No.
Yeah, they changed the history so many times. Who knows?
Yeah, that's weird.
But the Mary I know is Mary Walker. Her first appearance, Daredevil 254, 1988. And she was created by Ann Nocenti and John Romita Jr. She has low-level telekinetic powers. You wouldn't know that by reading this book because she does some pretty crazy things. We'll get into that later. But basically, she can throw knives with her mind or utensils. I don't know, little things.
She's not the Phoenix or anything like that, but she can certainly float things and stuff like that.
I think they say 10 pounds or less. She should.
Oh, okay.
She's
reasonable.
Also a powerful pyrokinetic abilities, like she can make things burst into flames. And she can also influence others. Like she, especially men.
Level nieces, basically.
But especially the men,
Yeah.
Manipulate the men. She's sexy.
Kind of like the Typhoid Fever. She kind of lights your brain on fire, from what I recall from Daredevil. He's always like, my brain is on fire right now.
You get a fever and a headache and get woozy. You get the vapors.
Yeah. Yeah, you just swoon so much. Yeah.
Do you know her original backstory?
Originally, I know she was horrifically abused. That's what caused her to get multiple personalities disorder. Basically leading to the main 3 personalities, and I guess there's also a 4th, which just goes by Walker.
Hold off on that. Hold off on that stuff, because I think that was like later on they added that down the road. But like the original thing they talked about in Daredevil back in the day, like that original story.
I don't remember. Just read that not that long ago, but I don't remember them giving her much of an origin.
Yeah, I don't know if they did. Maybe they didn't back then. But I guess they said she was a hooker working in a brothel.
This part came in the 90s. This was in the Daredevil Deadpool annual when they were doing like crossover annuals instead of giving everyone their own. They're like, we'll save money and combine. So Joe Kelly was doing both Daredevil and Deadpool at the time, and Typhoid Mary was a big character in Deadpool in that current run. So he kind of revealed the backstory of Typhoid Mary a little bit in there, where she was a hooker who in the book Daredevil. Did you read Daredevil Man Without Fear?
I had like issue 1, I think, of that, and then that's right when I quit comic books, kind of, or maybe I just bought it randomly, because that was years later, right? Mid-90s?
Yeah, that's right. So, that one was probably early 90s, maybe 91, 92.
So I know I had like issue 1 of that, but
that's really good. That's Frank Miller and John Romita Jr., and it's kind of a retelling of Daredevil's origin. But basically there, he's kind of dressed in like the costume from the Netflix show, just the black sweats and the black head. And he's chasing some guy into a brothel, and this guy's a regular there, so all the hookers in the brothel are like, "Hey, get off of him. We like him." And so they're just swinging at him wildly. He's overloaded. His hypersenses are going crazy from all the the smells and all the screeching and everything. So
he's still a young Daredevil at this point. He doesn't have mastery of his radar senses yet.
Yeah. He's still getting used to everything. And so he just kind of swings wildly and ends up knocking a hooker out the window. Like she goes flying and falls out the window, falls down to the street, and is laying there seemingly dead. And you're like, oh, that's crazy. Daredevil accidentally killed this hooker. That's nuts. Yeah. But it turns out years later we find out that hooker was Typhoid Mary.
Oh, wow. Now, how did Daredevil react to knocking that hooker out the window?
He was pretty upset.
Oh, okay. But did he go check on her or anything? Or he just like, I gotta get out of here?
Yeah, she was actually alive. I think he just ran and was worried about getting caught. But he
probably used the census to say, oh, her heart's still beating. I know she's all right. I'm letting out of here. One of them deals.
Yeah, maybe internally, but they did not address that in the comic. Like, oh, she's still alive. Like, nope.
Yeah,
I think the thing is here that they're saying that the trauma from the fall kind of awoke in her latent mutant powers. She hadn't manifested that at this point, but she probably telekinetically caught herself or something, just enough.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, just go around throwing people out windows, see if they're mutants. Hey, let's see what happens. Oh, you can't do that. All right, so you mentioned then, I think later then they fleshed out her backstory more and said she was abused as a child and everything and multiple personalities, right? Is that later then? Or?
Well, the multiple personalities that's from early on, because even in the Daredevil stuff, she
definitely has multiple personalities. That's her whole gimmick. That's her whole gimmick. Yeah. But did they explain it that it was because of child abuse?
Not sure when they did that.
Yeah, I think that came later. But her gimmick is like she's Mary, this sweet, innocent, virginal lady who is like seducing Matt Murdock. And this was when Matt was still with Karen Page, right? And she was like kind of getting him out of there. But she was innocent, but he's drawn to her because of those her ability to influence men. And then when he's Daredevil, she's Typhoid Mary, where she's got this crazy like permed hair, really sticks out far, and she like paints half her face white, right? Or it looks that way at least. and she has these little underpants and like fishnet stockings that are torn and ripped, high heel boots, and a crazy
jackety
thing. Yeah, and metal shoulder pads and shit. She's crazy. And she carries 2 machetes. And so that Typhoid Mary is like seducing Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
And Daredevil
sent Kingpin to fuck up, Matt Murdock's life. Post-morning.
That's another aspect of this is like she's kind of Kingpin's new assassin after he moved on from Bullseye. He's like, oh, Typhoid Mary will be my new assassin to go get Daredevil. And then there's conflict later on down the line between Bullseye and Typhoid Mary at some point, right? I would assume.
Yeah, that's right.
And but Daredevil can't tell that Typhoid Mary and Mary are the same woman because she gives off like a different scent and her heart beats different depending on who she is, right? Isn't that the thing? Like he couldn't tell?
Yep. I'm assuming that's part of her telepathic powers kind of alters everything.
Monkeying with them.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a great storyline. It was awesome. And
she does fuck up Daredevil's life pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like Karen finds out about it, she fucking leaves. She's barely sober at this point.
And she also gets she hires a bunch of guys to go after Daredevil. Like she brings in like the Wild Boys and a couple other villains to like fuck up Daredevil.
Yeah, maybe Shotgun. I want to say was probably one of them. A lot of Shotgun around that time.
I remember Bullet. You remember that big guy Bullet?
Yeah, Bullet. Yep.
And
he's
so
back.
then when he,
yeah.
So I always liked how Ramita Jr. drew him, like just big and bulky. Mm-hmm. So then when he's all beat up by those guys, she comes in and like picks the bones and just really
just drives the knife home. Yeah. But it's crazy because like you could never tell if she wanted to have sex with him or kill him. It was kind of both.
Yeah, a little bit of both. Yeah, a little bit of both. Because at that time she was having sex with Kingpin, I believe.
Yeah, both of them at the same time. Yeah, this one woman kind of linking those two guys.
They're Eskimo brothers. Oh, how about that? Never thought of that. So, all right. So you mentioned the other multiple personalities that she gets. So then later on, she develops another persona called Bloody Mary.
Yeah, I think this was in Spectacular Spider-Man was the first time, actually, that she developed that one.
Now explain who Bloody Mary is.
She appears much less often, so I don't know as much, but I think she's like mostly fully, white makeup over the face. And she's just pretty much, she hates men. Like that's her thing.
Yeah.
Wants to murder all men.
Yeah, particularly, I think, at the time was, men who abused women specifically. She was murdering them.
Yep.
She was, So, that's Bloody Mary. Now you mentioned there's another personality?
Yeah, I think there's Mary, which is like the sweet innocent one, but then there's also someone named Walker. Which I don't know exactly what her deal is.
Nancy Walker, the quicker picker-upper. Remember Nancy Walker wrote his mom on Mary Tyler Moore Show, and then she did the commercials for Bounty, the quicker picker-upper. Anything?
No.
She's a little old lady with like red hair, nothing.
I might recognize her if I saw her, but no. Yeah, I'm not sure what Walker's deal is. You don't see a lot of her.
Was she a Texas Ranger?
Yes. She told Haley Joel Osment he has AIDS.
Oh no. That's not good. Also, she then became Mutant Zero.
Yeah, that's right.
Tell the kids what that is, because I had no idea this existed until I was reading up on it.
Yeah. After the Civil War, part of the whole Iron Man side and, all the smart guys, when they teamed up, they created this thing called the Initiative, where basically once you register your superpowers, you have to go to like a training academy to learn how to use your powers responsibly. And then if you want, you can be on one of the teams, because they created a new superhero team for each state. Each state's going to have their own team.
All right.
So, that's the Initiative. And so they trained a bunch of heroes, but there's this one, character called Mutant Zero who's clearly a lady, but she's like covered head to toe in like a gray and red bodysuit. So it's like, oh, who could it be? And she's got like, telepathic, telekinetic powers and stuff. So I think, and I think there might have been some pyrokinesis as well. So you're like, oh, I think Jean Grey.
She also had two giant swords on her wrists, right? Like she had swords. I saw pictures of her like with swords attached to her forearms and shit. So it's like, oh, all right.
I think they wanted you to think that this was some kind of a Jean Grey thing because I think she was currently dead at the time. So they're like, oh, I think they wanted you to think this was Jean Grey back from the dead in some form. But eventually you find out that, oh, it's Typhoid Mary.
How about that?
Yeah. He's trying to be a good guy, I guess, for once.
How'd you feel about that? Were you excited when it was Typhoid Mary?
Yeah, it was cool. It was interesting, all right.
Typhoid Mary.
Yeah.
All right. So then, after that, I read that she married the Kingpin.
Yeah, this was just recently. They did a whole thing in Chip Zdarsky's current Daredevil run, which is pretty damn good, I gotta say. But since he started that, he accidentally killed somebody again. Oops. It's fucking Daredevil.
Daredevil, not Chip Zdarsky. Daredevil accidentally killed somebody.
Yeah. Yep. So he accidentally killed somebody, so he's feeling bad. So he's constantly going to church, but instead of the usual, they usually have him talking to a priest or whatever, he's talking to this nun. But it's not, Sister Maggie, his mom, or anything like that. It's just this other random nun. And eventually, like 20 issues or so in, you find out that nun is actually Typhoid Mary. Kingpin apparently, I don't know, like gave her some kind of weird therapy that made her, think she's a nun and has kind of stacked her there out of the way, where she can live like a nice peaceful life, I guess. Somehow, yeah. But somehow then she gets awoken again and, becomes Typhoid Mary. And I think she goes after the Kingpin at first, like, hey, you motherfucker. And then he's like, hey, I was trying to help you out. And she's like, oh, okay. And they start up again.
Oh, so that's all it takes.
Yep. And within a couple of months, they're getting married, and he's like, he pretty much lost the mayor race to Luke Cage, oddly enough.
What? What is going on in here? What is happening?
Yeah. Because Wilson Fisk was the Kingpin for a while, which is fucking crazy that anyone in the Marvel Universe allowed that to happen. But yeah, so then Luke Cage ran against him, and now, Luke Cage is the mayor.
Luke Cage. I don't need Luke Cage being in politics. I don't need it.
No, it seems like they're like, we need somebody to run against the Kingpin. Like, why would you pick Luke Cage, a guy who has a criminal record?
Well, but
he's a Kingpin. Yeah.
But he's a hero and all, But still, I don't want him doing campaign speeches and showing. No, that's not Luke.
No.
Stop it. Just stop it.
Yeah. There's some stuff going on there.
So Kingpin and Typhoid Mary. Well, first of all, congratulations to Wilson Fisk for finally moving on from Vanessa. It's nice to see that you can move on. But
he did move on, I guess, in more ways than one, because he finally got the life tablet or whatever that thing was that he was always chasing to try to bring her back to life. And instead, he was like, well, before Vanessa died, like, she was fucking real pissed at me for killing our son Richard, who became the Rose. So she's basically like, if I bring her back to life, she's still going to be fucking pissed at me for that. She's going to hate me. So instead, he used the tablets to bring Richard back to life so that he could try to make amends with him. So I guess he's closed the book on her ever coming back. And
instead, he used the tablet to bring Elvis back to life. And then he just toured the country with Elvis. All right, so he's married to Typhoid Mary. Now, do they live together? Is it like an Ozzy and Harriet situation? They're very happy together.
I guess so. The last we saw of them was in they basically after he lost the mayorship, I think he's on the run because he killed quote unquote Murdoch, which is a whole other story.
Wait, who did he kill?
Matt Murdock. Yeah, that's a whole other kettle of fish. But
Daredevil's still alive, right? Like, what is happening?
Yeah. Okay. Before the Chip Zdarsky thing, there was this story where, thanks to the power of some fucking Norn stones or something, Mike Murdock. Remember how back in the early days of Daredevil,
he pretended to be Mike.
Yep. So Mike Murdock became a real person thanks to some magic rewriting of history. So that he always did exist.
I hate this so much.
Yep. And so when recently Daredevil went to jail, he asked his brother Mike to fill in for him as Matt Murdock. Kingpin re-found out that Matt was Daredevil, which he had forgotten, because
yeah. He forgot.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other thing.
I hate. Why do writers do this? I hate this. This is because every writer, when they get their turn on a book, they're like, "Oh, I got to make it big, something huge, something big, monumental. We'll do this." Just tell stories, just tell stories. Just keep it going and tell serialized stories. Just do that.
Yep.
Everything doesn't have to be a huge.
Write everything from the beginning.
Yeah. Good God, yep. This is terrible.
And then, Mike got killed.
Yeah, Mike got killed, but
everyone thinks.
So Daredevil, what is he doing now?
Interestingly enough, he has finally caved into, Elektra and Stick and their whole, we got to take down the Hand. So basically he has gone off to, I think, like Tibet, essentially. And him and Elektra got married, and they are running the Fist, which is like the organization that's destined to crush the Hand.
Daredevil and Elektra got married?
Yeah. Yep.
With everyone getting married. Typhoid Mary and Kingpin.
Weddings all around.
Elektra.
Next up, Foggy Nelson and Stiltman.
Man, Daredevil's my favorite of all, anything. And I love the whole world. I love all the characters. But man, this sounds terrible. Sounds awful.
There is some really good stuff in there.
All right. I hope so. But anyway.
I mean, there's some stuff you'd like because, when the Kingpin was mayor, he met this couple called the Stromwins who were, very, influential political muckety-mucks that seemed very Clinton-esque.
Yeah.
And they were trying to groom him to be president and stuff like that. And they were, even worse than the Kingpin, so, yeah.
All right, so there's your backstory on Typhoid Mary. A little extra than we wanted, but yeah, we got Typhoid Mary in there. So is she still showing up regularly in Daredevil? Or
not since the end of that big arc, but I mean, she's gonna be back. Let's face
it.
Right.
Does she still look the same with the crazy hair and everything?
Oh yeah.
So even when she's married at home, like cooking Kingpin dinner and stuff, does she have her metal shoulder pads on and fishnets and the white soccer face?
Probably not then, but I'm guessing at nighttime she probably does it up for him.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so getting back to Power Pack, that's why we're here today. Yeah, this book, you mentioned it came out in 89, right? This is like the latest book because it has a cover date of 90, but January 90, so that means you take it off the stands. Yeah. So technically this still falls in our 70s and 80s thing. The creators here for this here book, the writer's Terry Austin, which was crazy to me because I didn't even know he ever wrote anything. He's, I know him as an agent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, John Byrne, Terry Austin.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's the writer here, and then the artist is Ernie Colon, or Cologne, I guess would be the proper pronunciation.
Yeah, I got an accent mark. I'm guessing.
And Brett Blevins did the cover, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Oh.
All right, so we'll come back and revisit the creators, but this is Terry Austin and Ernie Cologne. All right, so let's look at the cover there, Jack.
Okay.
Power Pack.
Yeah. We got it's a dark, kind of like a forest green kind of background.
I like forest green. I'm a big fan of forest green.
A lot. Yeah. It's got the Axe of Vengeance, thing up in the corner. It's just like a little triangle up in the corner. It says Axe of Vengeance, so you know that this is part of that. We got the corner box on the left-hand side. It's purple, and you got the 4 kids in there.
Hey, you got 5. You got Franklin in there, too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Look at him. Little toehead. We got the Power Pack logo, which is pretty much just, copying off X-Men, kind of. And it's got the letters coming out 3D style. So we got Typhoid Mary, real big in the center. She's shooting some fire out of her hands while the kids are kind of scrambling around her. She's like, one of them's, I don't know what, like hanging out of her armpit, even though or just happens to be falling in front of her.
Yeah, that's Katie. And I think, she's just falling in front of her, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe she kicked her. That sounds like something she'd do. The one kid's misting around her. The one kid's all yellow and not sure why. And then Julie is doing her rainbow.
Yeah, Julie's the rainbow flyer at this point. Alex is the smoke guy. Jack is all yellow because I think he absorbs energy and shit, right? So is that what maybe he's?
Oh yeah, he's got energy balls.
Energy balls. I like the cover though. I like it. It's Brett Blevins does good work here.
Yeah.
I like how Typhoid's angled there and a nice flow to her.
Yeah. Did a very good job on the fishnets, so.
Yeah. That's the most important thing. And then we open the book and we see Stan Lee presents Power Pack. And were they doing this in all books at this point, or is this just a special thing for? Because it's a black and white line drawing of just the Power Pack team, and you got the title, and then you got the creators. And like, was this unique to them?
It must have been a Power Pack thing.
Yeah, because I've never seen this anywhere else in Marvel.
Pretty unusual. I'm guessing this was on the inside cover, not a separate page, but I don't know.
This is the kind of thing you would see in like a special edition or something like.
Yeah, like a graphic novel or something.
Yeah. So Terry Austin, Ernie Colon, Joe Rosa in the letters, Glynis Oliver the colors, Sarah Tuchinski managing edits, Daniel Chichester edits, and Tom DeFalco big edits. So you had 3 editors on this. And not one of them said, hey, this doesn't seem like Dr. Doom at all.
Yes, that was I'm guessing they're going to try to explain that as being, Mary was working her powers on him. But does not seem Dr. Doom-esque at all.
Yeah, Dr. Doom's also in here. I forgot to mention that. But, all right, Jank, so the book opens. Tell the kids what we see here.
So we get a close-up shot of Typhoid Mary's eyes. She's got her, face painted as per usual. And somebody in a chair who's wearing green and has some like gray all over him, so can't spoil who it is, even though we already did. He's asking for a progress report on what's going on with her mission to take down Power Pack that he gave her.
I like that she has her machetes on the ground in front of her. Yeah, just keeping them with her.
Yeah.
Can you tell, because we see the shot from over the mysterious guy's right shoulder, and you can see he has a spiral notebook on his lap, and he has something written there. I think it says, does that say Typhoid Mary symptoms schizo? Is that what it says?
Or maybe he wrote Schwing, because he's just
Yeah. And this story is called Chinks in the Armor. And Dr. Doom is talking to Typhoid Mary, and she's lounging on the couch all sexy there in that one panel. And he's like, update me on your progress in taking down Power Pack. Because he wants to learn the secrets of the alien technology that gave them their powers. Is that basically the premise here?
Yep.
And
so I don't know why he sent Typhoid Mary to do that. Like, she doesn't know anything about technology. All she knows is fucking and sucking.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. She's supposed to seduce the father, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, because the father's a scientist.
Like, she would have to be able to explain this to Dr. Doom later on. Like,
well,
yeah, what's she gonna know? Like, oh yeah, I remember everything about this.
I'm guessing she'll steal documents or a floppy disk, since this is 1989.
Once he sees Mary, he's not gonna be floppy.
So she's telling Doom the background of how her plan went. So now we get a cut back in time here, and we're at a park, Jank, and we see there's Alex, and then Julie, and then who's that third lady there? We mentioned her earlier.
One lady, yeah, Tandy. Or as other people may know her, Dagger from Cloak and Dagger.
Now, at this point, look at Alex. He's feeding a squirrel. It's nice. But at this point, Tandy is blind.
Yes.
Do you know how she lost her sight?
You know what? I feel like I've read that somewhere. It may have been from Maximum Carnage, although this may be too early for that. But
it's kind of hoping it's from masturbating. So.
I want to say it was her own power somehow, basically. Like, she went burned out her own eyeballs.
All right, so Dagger's blind, and they're at the park, and she's telling them she's learning how to use her other senses to make up for the fact that she's blind. and someone throws a ball and it bounces and it's going right for her head. But she gives all Daredevil and she just grabs the ball. She can sense it. Because I guess the ball has a little bell in it. And
yeah.
like, oh, I heard the bell. And all the Power Pack kids are like, hey, good job, Tandy. But now we meet, who else is there, though, working with them blind kids?
Oh, here comes a lady named Mary.
Yeah.
Who always looks like she's sucking on a lemon in this book. It's the most sunken in cheeks you've ever seen.
Now, did she always work? Like, how did Mary just suddenly start working with blind kids to be in a park to do all this? Was she always working with blind kids?
You know what? I think she might have been. That may have been how she got into Matt Murdock's life.
That's right. Yeah, she was doing some social work or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, something along those lines. So it may not have been blind kids per se, but yeah, it was definitely something along those lines.
Yeah, so she comes over and says, hey, sorry, I had an errant throw there. And I was playing with my little girl here, this girl here who's blind. We were playing with this ball. But then that's how she gets in with the Power Pack. They introduce themselves. They start shooting the shit. Before you know it, those Power Kids invite Mary over to the house to hang out.
The Powers need to talk with these kids. Like, why are you just inviting random adults over to our house? Your children. Yeah. Like, if Alex was 12 when the series started, how old is he now? 13?
Well, they did age. I forget. There was a issue where the second girl who was 10 when it started got into middle school. So I think she would have had to. What's middle school? Is that 12 or?
Yeah, sounds about right.
So I went to a different kind of school system here. We were kindergarten through 8th grade at one school, and then 9th through 12th at high school. But I think apparently some people break it up different. I don't know. So anyway,
said that, you know, in the 2002 series, Alex was finally in high school. So that means he's not in high school yet.
Yeah, he was probably like 14 here.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind when we get through this.
It's gonna get weird.
So they're at the Power Home, and Tandy's there. And they're like, hey, maybe we can get something to drink. And Tandy's like, hey, I'll go get the drinks. Because, you know, let the blind girl do all the work. What are they doing? Like, help her out. But she's like, no, I can do it on my own.
She does say, I'll help you, Tandy.
Yeah,
and she's like, no, I've got blind powers. I can do this.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah, it's easy. I was just blinded a couple weeks ago. I've got it all figured out. So she comes.
Plan memorized.
Yeah, that's why I was saying, like, did she live here? Because she does kind of know how to navigate around this house pretty well.
Thanks to my orientation and mobility training, I know every inch of this apartment like the back of my hand.
Oh, so wait, they're at Tandy's apartment? Or I thought they were at the Power household.
I mean, we have the dads over there. Or is that? Yeah, so what? I don't know.
That's not their dad. That's Tandy's stepdad.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
And then they say we'll introduce you to our dad, and they take her upstairs to meet their dad. So yeah, it's the powerhouse. So what the fuck is going on?
Well, I think maybe they live in a building, kind of like it's definitely a bigger building, so maybe they own the whole place, kind of like the Four Freedoms Plaza, basically, where it's like there's a bunch of things in here. People would just rent out floors.
Idea. But anyway, Mary, she trips Tandy.
Yeah.
Now,
so
Mary
spirited that I loved it.
So Mary falls and spills all the lemonade. Now here's my question for you, Jank. Is this something that Mary would do when she's in her Mary persona? Like, would she actually do this?
Yeah, that's where the line between the two kind of gets blurry for me a little bit. Like, maybe it's Typhoid exerting her influence a little bit. Like, can she just come out for a second and then pop back in?
Or I guess this is just Typhoid dressed up like Mary, with the straight hair and no face paint. Just, hey, look at me, I'm Mary. But anyway, she trips Tandy. She spills the lemonade everywhere. But Julie says, hey, Mary tricked her on purpose. And Alex says, you're crazy. Mary's smoking hot. She would never do that.
Hot people are always nice.
So, but Julie's like, she's like, I'm going to keep an eye on this Mary. So then they take Mary upstairs to meet the dad. And the dad, he's got a very thick beard and mustache.
Yeah.
So much so that you can't see his mouth, just all beard and mustache. And
looks like the drawing of Walt Simonson. I seem to remember.
That is true. Like the little caricature he does. Yeah. So then we cut back. She meets the dad, and we cut back to the office with. Now you can clearly see a Dr. Doom silhouette in the chair. And it's like, oh, that's Dr. Doom. And Mary, look at her legs sticking out there. And she's like, hey, she's telling him the story. She said, hey, I started to get closer with Alex, the older one, because he's 14, and I'm in my mid-30s. So this won't look weird at all. I'm hanging out with this 13-year-old.
I mean, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and say she's like in her 20s, but yeah, oh, fucking weird.
So they go to the park together, and they're walking around, and she's like getting closer to this Alex guy, the kid. Now here's the part. They're walking through the park there, and they're chatting it up, like almost like a date. But then Alex, he takes money and he hands it to some shady looking guy smoking a cigarette. What is that about?
Placed a bad bet on the South last night.
Because it gives no explanation whatsoever. Because like in the first the second panel of this page, you see that guy looking real shady, a backward hat, cigarette in his mouth, and he looks like a nefarious character. This guy. And then by panel 4, Alex just walks up and hands him a paper, like a dollar bill. We don't know what denomination, but he's clearly handing him cold hard cash, and he's giving him. So I'm like, oh, he probably bought some ice cream or some balloons or something, But then the next panel, we just see a close-up of their faces. Then the next panel, we see them walking around, and they do not have ice cream cones. They do not have balloons. They do not have anything. So what did he give him that money for?
I'm going to assume what they were going for was this guy's homeless, and he gave him $1 to, go get some
Really?
food. Assume they're trying to treat him like he's a nice guy. Not that he's, buying crack.
That's what I was thinking. It was like a drive-by drug deal.
Yeah. Plus, maybe, Mary used to be a hooker. Maybe she's still on the smack or something, and
I don't know.
He needs a fix.
So to get into here with Alex, Mary tells her backstory about how the reason she works with blind kids now is her father was blind, like he lost his sight, right? And in his life, go ahead.
Is this true? Like, I didn't know if this was true or not.
Yeah, you never know with Mary. You know, she could be spinning the web. Exactly. But I kind of thought it was true. I don't know, but. Basically, her dad was blind, lost his sight, and his life just tanked after that. And she lived with him and took care of him. And that's when she was a little girl. And, so she had a miserable childhood, basically. Didn't really know a lot of people. So Alex is hearing this, and he's falling madly in love with this adult woman. It should not be.
Yeah. But everyone else, doesn't see any problem with this.
No, everyone bats an eye.
It's then them about having a girlfriend who's an adult.
So they cut to Mary now. She's at home and she's cooking dinner or something, and she just starts staring at the knife, and she almost stabs herself in the eye with the knife because Typhoid's taking control now. He's like, I'm gonna gouge your eye out, Mary. But
it make you just like dear old dad. Blind as that.
But she stops herself, and although I think Mary gets control, or Typhoid is she's taking control now, right? Is that the symbolism here?
I'm guessing Typhoid doesn't want to take her own eye out any more than Mary does, realistically. Yeah. That would hinder her.
She just did that to freak out Mary so she can get control or whatever. All right, so now we're back in the office, and this is a weird picture of Typhoid, but whatever. And she's...
Not the most comfortable way to sit, but whatever.
Her legs are spread wide, arms out, boobs prominent. But now we clearly see Dr. Doom's gauntlet and everything, and so we know she's talking to Doom, and he's still talking to her. But again, we're getting our first, because Doom starts talking. I'm sorry I wasn't listening. I was remembering my own father. He was a doctor. This is not Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom his whole characterization in this issue is terrible. It just
It really was. I mean, this wasn't the first time we heard about Dr. Doom's dad, was it? Because I know we've heard about his mom a lot.
Yes, we always hear about his mother, but I've never heard about his dad. So, but in this issue, we hear a lot about Dr. Doom's dad.
Yeah.
But just the fact that, I wasn't listening. I was thinking about it. No, Dr. Doom would never say that. Even if it were true, he wouldn't say it, because he's always got to be in control and everything. He's Dr. Doom. But anyway.
The best one in the room in every way.
All right, Jenks. So now we get this next picture of Typhoid. What's going on with Typhoid Mary in this picture? What the fuck is going on there? The big montage of them dating, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, God. The smiles depicted in these drawings are just creepy. They look like they've been hit with the fucking Smilex from Batman '89. And Alex not actually age appropriate to date Mary because he's got to be at least like 40 here.
Yeah, he looks about 45. But they're going to movies. They're going for runs in the park with leaves on the ground and shit. And what a happy couple, even though she's in her mid-30s and he's 14. All right, so
it's touching.
Then we're back at the power home, and Mary comes to the door, and Alex goes running to get the door. Mm-hmm. He's showing around his lady around the house. I'm like, look at this. This is my girlfriend, Mary. Let's go show her to Dad. And then he takes her up to see the dad. And right away, the dad, Mary's just flirting with the dad.
Yeah. Right in front of him.
And let me ask you.
Around him, and, which the dad won't think anything of, but Alex will freak the fuck out.
Yeah, she's touching his shoulders and shit. But let me ask you this about the dialogue here in that top right panel. They crisscrossed the word balloons. And they did that a couple times in this book. And it's not too confusing here. But there's one later on where the next page where Alex is on the couch and Julie's there. Like, what the fuck? That confused me. I don't know. But
yeah, there's no need for that one there. Like this one here, you could be like, they're trying to show that these two are hitting it off, her and the dad. So much so that their word balloons are intermingling.
Yeah, there's some word balloon confusion throughout this. But yeah, Alex is getting mad. He's getting jealous of his old man that he's making time with Mary, And because Mary is supposed to come over and help him with some report or something, and she just leaves. She just was flirting with the dad, and then she just leaves. And Mary's like influencing the dad. In her thoughts, she's like, rebuff him hard. So then the dad yells at Alex, and then the dad walks Mary out to a cab, and she kisses the dad. Oh my God.
Uh-oh.
And Alex
their marriage is over.
And Alex sees it. Oh yeah. While all this is happening, the mother is visiting her sister.
Mm-hmm. That's convenient.
Yeah, apparently she's visiting her sister for months at a time because it seems like this takes a while for this to unfold. All these dates she's going on with Alex and everything. Like she went on multiple dates with him because, walking in the park, she's wearing different clothes than when they were at the movies and when they were in the first walk in the park. And so, yeah, this seems to be a long time. Yet the wife is not to be seen or heard. She is solid gone.
And by the end of this issue, I don't think they realized yet that Mary was actually and Typhoid Mary were the same person. So
correct.
They're just assuming, Dad kissed this lady.
That's right.
And there's no reason. Like he's just a creep.
Right. So then, more terrible Doom characterization. We cut back to them in the office. Mary's balancing a knife on her finger. That's pretty awesome. But then Dr. Doom's like, I don't understand any of this. Why are you playing on the lad's insecurities? Amplifying this feeling of paternal rivalry.
Paternal rivalry. Yeah.
Like, really, Doom's going to say, I don't understand. What are you doing? Doom would know what she's doing. He's Dr. Doom. He would have thought of this too. Come on.
Well, like I said, the only thing I can think of is Mary's clouding his mind. His brain's on fire.
Perhaps. I don't know. But she telekinetically throws the knife and it sticks in the chair next to him, so that's cool. All right, Jank. So next we get back to the powerhouse and they're doing chores and they're using their superpowers. Alex is all sad, but then Katie says, "Hey, here's a note for you, though." And what's in this note, Jank?
Oh God, this was ridiculous. So the note says, "Dear Alex, I've been taken prisoner by a horrible, evil woman. Please come to the basement alone. I need your help desperately."
Signed, Mary.
Someone's kid Mary and is holding her hostage in their own basement.
Yes. Yeah, it
seems convenient.
She's not so restricted in movements that she could still write a letter, walk it up and slip it under their door, and then walk back to the basement and then be imprisoned again. This is fucking what the fuck.
Yeah, that made no fucking sense.
It's like, wait, Alex. They're saying, where are you going? He's like, oh, he doesn't say anything, but he just goes to the basement because apparently, there's a crazy woman who has my girlfriend kidnapped in our basement. So he goes down there and he's like, Mary? And then Typhoid Mary jumps out and rips off a trench coat. She's like, no, it's Typhoid has come out to play. But he has no idea who she is. And, what does Typhoid mean to him? He's like, well, who? And he's like, what'd you do to Mary? And she's like, don't worry, you got bigger concerns now. And I guess these Power Pack kids, they can just mentally turn their costumes on and shit. They just whip around them like costume on. So that's pretty cool. And then she says, hey, let's watch some TV. And it's not an episode of Small Wonder. It's actually their dad. He's in an elevator, and there's a camera up in the corner of the elevator, and Mary has him on like closed circuit TV. And then she like snaps the elevator cables somehow. I don't know. Explain this. I don't know what's happening. How did she do all this?
I'm going to say telekinesis.
All right.
I guess.
Yeah, I suppose. I like that picture of Alex there, bottom right, where he's getting it, where he says, "Hey, what are you doing?" That's a nice drawing. Nice line on that one.
I don't know.
I like it.
Awfully small, quickly.
And then, but now that next picture of Mary, not so much. What is going on there?
Yeah, that's rough.
So like a bunch of flames come out of the elevator shaft. Yeah, they must live in some sort of crazy building with an elevator and what's going on?
Yeah, it's definitely a bigger,
like they live in a big
kind
apartment
of skyscraper type thing. Yeah, exactly. I guess Tandy's just kind of their neighbor.
So the dad is passed out on the floor of the elevator, and all the Power Pack kids come in using their powers, and this is where Jack shoots energy balls at her. And he's like, drat, missed. I need some more Powerball target practice. So then, so Mary goes running and jumping into the elevator shaft that's, engulfed in flames, and she flies out of the building.
Yeah, with their telekinetic powers. So I guess she can lift more than 10 pounds.
Yeah, she can't fly. Typhoid Mary cannot fly with her telekinesis. This is terrible. So yeah, she's like flying like Superman right out of the building, and Alex turns into mist. And how do the Power Pack kids save the day, Jank?
Let's see. So Julie she's going real fast to create an updraft to get rid of the smoke. So then it looks like the kid with the power balls, he's absorbing all forms of energy so he can take care of the flames because they are energy, I suppose.
Yeah, theoretically.
I guess that makes sense. And the little girl is just kind of holding him so he can do this because he can't fly.
Yeah, she's got the anti-gravity power so she can like float above the flames holding him.
Yeah. So that works.
But then like Alex, he flies into the elevator, and now suddenly Typhoid Mary is now on top of the elevator with the father, even though just 3 panels ago she flew out of the top of the building.
Well, she stopped for a snack.
I don't know. How does that happen? So she cuts something with her machete to drop the elevator, and
and then the 3 are below the elevator. They're gonna get crushed.
Oh yeah. But Katie comes in with her anti-gravity shit and holds up the elevator to save the day. And then they go up to the roof, and Alex is up there. Typhoid Mary's holding the dad by his tie over the edge of the roof.
Yeah. And she's like, I was telling your dad how miserable you are growing up in his shadow and how much you hate him for it. And again, he told all this to Mary, not Typhoid. So how would Typhoid know it unless she was Mary?
But he still doesn't know it. Yeah, he can't piece it together.
Can't
And then
figure it out.
Typhoid cuts the tie, although, man, I have no idea what's going on in that panel.
Yeah, it's a strange drawing. She looks like Whoopi Goldberg there almost.
Yeah, she does. But where, like, how is the knife being used? Like, where is her hand? And
oh God, yeah, it's like coming out of her elbow almost at a weird angle.
no idea. Because her right hand's holding the tie, and the left hand would have to be holding the machete, but the angle of the machete, none of that works at all. So she cuts the father's tie, and he's falling down to the ground, and then she says, Papa takes a plummet, and not all your power balls can save him now, Mr. Inadequate. And he's like, I don't do power balls anymore, lady. I guess your information is out of date. Yeah, because again, they swap powers like last issue. Again.
Yeah. Just in time, apparently, for good old dad here.
So he uses his mist power to create a big cloud of mist.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I've never tried doing this before. What if I fail? And then we get, yippee! I did it. I didn't fail. Good dialogue.
Yeah, he creates like a cushion under the dad to save him. And all the kids show up. And the dads are there. And Alex is still crying like a little weasel. I don't know why. So the parents don't know their power pack?
I guess not at this point. I was reading up on this, trying to figure out the timeline of that. It sounds like at some point the parents found out, and then they freaked the fuck out, and basically like both of their lives were spiraling down the drain because they were like, oh, I don't know how to be a parent to a superhero. What are we gonna do? I don't know if they just started like drinking or what, but like they were spinning out of control so much that New Mutants somehow had to help put the secret back in the bottle and like make them think like, no, they were never superheroes. That was all a trick. So yeah, I don't know.
Here when the dad's waking up, he's picking his glasses off the ground. They swap out of their costumes. They all
before he can wake up.
And the dad's like, hey, Julie's like, Alex saved you, Dad. Then he brought you up here so the fresh air would revive you. Wait, so they're on top of the roof now?
They carried him back up.
The fuck? And then he says, that's my boy. I'm sorry I snapped at you last night, son. It's been bothering me all day. Unfortunately, your old dad is only human and doesn't always do everything right. Like when I French kissed that Typhoid Mary girl, or just Mary.
Yeah. When I French kissed your adult girlfriend.
But I want you to all know I love you very much, and I'm proud of each of you. Because succeed or fail, you always try your best. That goes for us too, Pop, says Alex.
Aw, what a heartwarming story.
Then Typhoid Mary's on top of the roof looking down, and she says, take a good look at them, Mary. You'll never know affection like that. I won't let you. Wow, what a creep.
I'm going to make you trip all the blind people till everyone hates you.
All right, so now explain this final scene we get with Doom and Typhoid. Walk us through this one, Jack.
Yeah, he says, you must be insane, woman. I didn't order you to kill their father. Such a loss. Oh, yeah, 'cause she's lying to him. She's lying and saying, oh, yeah, I totally killed their dad. And now they're just destroyed over there. Oh, God, they don't know what to do with themselves. They're so wrecked. And he's just like, oh, I didn't tell you to do that. I just told you to get the secrets of the technology. That's it. And so then she's goading him into talking about his father, which he very freely does, which, again, is very strange. This is not something Dr. Doom would ever tell anyone. But he says, my own father, a simple gypsy healer, ordered by the cruel Baron to save the life of his dying wife or forfeit our own. And then he's basically like, the dad was like, there's nothing we can do to save the wife. She's a goner, so we have to run. So they're on horseback. They're just fleeing out to the countryside. And it's very cold. So the dad kind of takes off his own skirt and coat and everything, gives it to Victor and kind of wraps him up and is trying to get Victor to safety while he pretty much freezes to death. And he does, but then basically, the dad is on the way out. he's gotten so ill from this that he's gonna die. And there's little Victor, young Victor, who made it through this, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry about me, Dad. I'm gonna become strong. No one will ever hurt us again. All of mankind shall pay for this." And he starts shaking his fist as a young Victor, and now he's still shaking it as an old man. So that's cool.
But Typhoid was laughing at him.
Young Victor. Yeah.
And then what did she say?
"I always wondered where the doctor part of your name came from. So that's the chink in your armor, is it? Its discovery to gain a psychological edge on the great Dr. Doom was my intent all along. Before I go, Doctor, how does it feel to have Typhoid Mary share your secret beneath that all-concealing armor? Do you for the first time feel truly naked underneath?" And normally this is where Dr. Doom would like just fucking melt her brain.
Yeah. That's like, why doesn't he just shoot her with his little glasses?
Yeah.
I don't understand
He just kind of stares out the window. It's like, "Oh, she got me."
Yeah, the narration says, "But the son of Werner von Doom does not answer. At least not in words. ... The end."
Yeah. Yeah, that's not very Dr. Doom-esque.
No. So Typhoid Mary does all this just to get an edge on Dr. Doom because they interact so often. Dr. Doom and Typhoid Mary.
They're very at cross purposes.
I can see her maybe doing something like this to get an edge on Kingpin. Maybe that would make sense, but Dr. Doom was? I don't know.
Yeah, Bullseye, something like that. But yeah, a guy running a country over in Europe really has nothing to do with angry farm worker.
So, the writer here, you mentioned Terry Austin, born 1952 in Detroit, Michigan. That's a shame. I hate Detroit. He started inking as an assistant for Dick Giordano and Neil Adams. He first came into prominence in 1976-1977 when he inked Marshall Rogers' Batman run on Detective Comics. That was written by Steve Englehart, and if Mike L were here, he would tell us all about it, but I don't know anything about Batman. So anyway, in 1977, he inked John Byrne as the new art team on X-Men, and that's where he became super famous because X-Men became the #1 comic book in the land, and that was during the Dark Phoenix saga. And so when I think John Byrne, I think Terry Austin.
Oh yeah, that was definitely the team that Byrne was ever a part of.
After he left the X-Men in 1981, and then he inked various titles for Marvel and DC, including Superman, Justice League, Doctor Strange, and Green Lantern. He was the regular inker on DC's Superman Adventures from 1996 to 2002, and then from 2002 to 2017, he inked Sonic the Hedgehog for Archie Comics.
Oh, definitely got more cartoony as he went along.
Yeah. 15 years, Sonic the Hedgehog inker.
Oh,
he must have loved it. Oh.
Yeah. Who knew there were so many shadings in a flying rat-tailed fox?
He has 290 inking credits at Marvel, and he also had 14 penciling credits. So, I know him as a world-class inker. Not as a writer.
Penciler.
I have seen, I do believe I've seen his penciling work once, maybe. I'm trying to remember what it was, though. You know what? It may have been an Indiana Jones book, actually.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, like issue 1 or 2 or something of Indiana Jones. He has 35 writing credits at Marvel, though, including issues 21, 46, and this here issue 53 of Power Pack. And he did issues 1 through 13 of the Mutant Adventures of Cloak and Dagger. I had no idea that was a series, the Mutant Adventures of Cloak and Dagger.
They weren't mutants. They got their powers from drugs.
They're apparently mutants.
Mutant drugs. Oh, no.
There you go. I think we talked about the rating here, but yeah, it was terrible, I would say. It just, I don't know. Dr. Doom is not Dr. Doom. It was god-awful. Mary was fine for the most part. The Power Pack kids were fine. But just the continuity from scene to scene of what the characters were doing was all over the place. Like Mary flies out of a building, now she's on top of an elevator. I don't know. There's just a lot happening in this book that just didn't make any sense. Oh, also there's a 30-year-old woman seducing a 14-year-old and his dad. So that's a little weird.
Yeah, that storyline works a lot better with Daredevil, who's a full grown man, but not a 14-year-old boy. So when you're picking, I know you want to pick villains that Power Pack wouldn't normally go against, but maybe Typhoid Mary not the best choice for a bunch of children.
Yeah. Not so much.
Yeah.
So I did not like this at all, really, in terms of the writing.
You know what? I'm gonna be a little more lenient on it, because if we're gonna read an issue of Power Pack, this is the way to go about it. Make it all from Typhoid Mary's point of view. About Typhoid Mary than it is about Power Pack. So
yeah, really, they're supporting characters and all this. The main character is Typhoid Mary manipulating Dr. Doom. That's the main story. Everything else is like second.
Manipulating everyone. Yeah, it's pretty great.
So yeah,
I appreciate that. Right. Keeping with her character, and I found that intriguing, even if I didn't buy the stuff with Dr. Doom, because like you said, he would never let this happen to him. I'm pretty sure he's got telepathic blocks in his helmet.
The artist Ernie Colon, born 1931 in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Sadly, he passed away in 2019 at the age of 88. He was raised in the U.S. from the age of 10, and he attended high school at New York School of Industrial Art. We've encountered that school many times doing these backstories of these artists. A lot of artists went through there. In 1955, cartoonist Ham Fisher hired Colon to ink his backgrounds on the Joe Palooka comic strip.
Oh, like Bazooka Joe's ne'er-do-well brother or something?
I have no idea. That job only lasted a month, though, because Ham Fisher committed suicide.
Oh, Ham.
I know.
He's got the best name. What? How could you kill yourself with a name like that?
How sad is that? And how sad is that for young Ernie Colon getting his first break into business, and then he had to be all excited. I got this great job working on Joe Palooka, and then a month later, my boss just killed himself.
Oh, man.
Now, there's nothing to indicate that his inking was so bad that it drove Ham Fisher to suicide.
Yeah.
That is not.
Let's not start that room.
So then, Ernie, he saw an ad in, I think the New York Times, that Harvey Comics was looking for a letterer. And Harvey was run by brothers Leon, Al, and Robert Harvey. So they brought in, Ernie here, and they sat him down and said, hey, let's see you be an editor, or a letterer. And he sat down and he started lettering stuff. And, I believe it was, Leon Harvey. He looked over, Ernie's shoulder and he said, you're no letterer. And he just walked away. So that's a bad sign, So when one of the bosses says you're not a letterer. But Vicky Harvey, the wife of Al Harvey, one of the brothers, she is familiar with Ernie's work, maybe on Joe Palooka or something else, and she convinced her husband Al to keep Ernie on, to keep him on the job there. So it worked out that Ernie spent 25 years at Harvey. And he started drawing Casper the Friendly Ghost and Richie Rich, like their titles, because they had so many different title systems. So yeah, 25 years, all because that lady was nice and kept them on. How about that?
Nice.
And he has 63 penciling credits at Marvel. I'm sorry, what was that?
At least she didn't kill herself like Ham.
Yeah, God bless Ham. I feel bad for him. 63 penciling credits at Marvel, including John Carter, Warlord of Mars, Battlestar Galactica, Damage Control, which we still haven't done. Yeah, we still haven't done that. Bullwinkle and Rocky, and that's the title of it. Not Rocky and Bullwinkle. Bullwinkle and Rocky. So Bullwinkle gets top billing in the comic book world.
Rocky. That's fair. He's the better one. I would give it to him.
Rocky's a good kid. He also drew Thundercats and Mighty Mouse. So I think if you look at the things he drew, the art style in this book makes way more sense. Because when I was reading it, I was like, well, this is very cartoony, a lot of this. And yeah, this is a guy coming from Casper, Richie Rich, Thundercats, Bullwinkle, and Rocky, Mighty Mouse. That makes sense, right? Like you can kind of see it.
Yeah, although I don't know, these faces are pretty ugly for cartoons.
Well, that's the thing. He's not usually drawing human faces, really. He's usually drawing animals and shit. So
just drawing cats.
Yeah.
I think we're not going to do cats someday, because we will.
I might be absent that week. But I never watched Thundercats when I was a kid. I just thought it was goofy. But Ernie, I like a lot of it. There were some panels in here I really liked. The line work and like the angles of the characters like had some energy. But then there were some panels where it's like, what the fuck was going on, Ernie? What is happening? Like you mentioned, the faces. Typhoid looks hideous in a lot of this.
Yeah.
She does not look like an attractive lady at all.
Yeah, honestly, like Tandy looked pretty good.
Yeah, she looked great. Yeah.
And Mary, like,
Mary had her moments, but other times not so much. Yeah, and Alex, maybe he was drawing Alex like he was 45 because he's like, this story is too creepy. I got to make him an adult. I have to make him an adult. So
it's strange that when they're running through the park, it looks like Alex is actually taller than Mary.
Yes. Yeah, and like when he walks her into the house, then the one time, like he's taller than her, so it looks like an age appropriate thing. But yeah, so the art here is hit or miss. I like some of it. Some of it is very bad, but some of it's kind of cool. I guess this is what kind of tone do you want for a Power Pack book though? You kind of want it more cartoony, right? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, something that the kids can appreciate. Yeah, you don't want super grim and gritty.
So again, I like some of it, didn't like all of it. So overall, what would you give Power Pack, Jake?
You know what? I'm gonna give it probably a 6. Overall, I liked it. I thought doing it from the Typhoid Mary perspective was cool. She tripped a blind lady, which was, again, still mean-spirited that I had to laugh. And yeah, I just had a good time, living in Typhoid Mary's world again for a little bit. So, even if it was her dealing with children, which made it icky.
Yeah.
So overall, I'm still gonna give it a 6.
I can't go higher than 3. I can't go higher than 3. The writing here is just terrible. Dr. Doom, it's awful. The art is hit or miss. The storyline of Typhoid Mary seducing a 14-year-old is creepy as fuck. I can't go higher than 3.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm thinking of the bad comic scale more so than good, because I enjoyed this for probably the wrong reasons.
Yeah, listen, anything with Typhoid Mary is awesome. So yeah. Cool. But, I don't need to see her seducing a 14-year-old.
No. That's not what you want.
All right, so there you go. Power Pack 53. Read it at your own risk. All right, so next issue, Jank. I like to tie things into what you pick somehow. So what I was going to do, we've never done Cloak and Dagger on this show, you know.
Really? Oh, you guys did?
They appeared in an issue of New Mutants that we did. But we never did a Cloak and Dagger issue here. So I was going to pick Cloak and Dagger. Because Dagger was in this one.
Yeah.
But and I even found one, I think issue 11 of their series, because they had a 4-issue limited series and then a regular series after that. I believe issue 11, it has Dr. Doom. It's Dr. Doom, Cloak and Dagger, and Brett Blevins is the artist, the guy who did the cover of this issue. So I'm like, oh, that ties in perfectly, you know? So maybe we'll do that. And then I looked who the writer was. It was Bill Mantlo. I guess Bill Mantlo did all Cloak and Dagger, you know? And we've done a lot of Bill Mantlo on the show. So I'm like, I'd rather not read Bill Mantlo if I don't have to.
Gonna take a break from Mantlo for a little
bit. So maybe you can pick Cloak and Dagger down the road sometime, or we'll get to them eventually. So I'm like, all right, I want something else now. So what can I tie into Power Pack? Power Man.
Okay.
Because we've never done. I did a Flea Market Fantasy article on Hero for Hire Luke Cage, where he had to get his $200 from Dr. Doom, and that was a written article. And then we did an issue of Power Man and Iron Fist on the show, but we've never done an Iron Fist issue straight, and we've never done a Luke Cage issue on his own. So we're going to do Power Man, and I selected issue 29 from 1975 because he fights a guy named Mr. Fish. He looks like a giant fish. So I'm like, this is going to be awesome. So I'm like, all right, Power Man 29, Mr. Fish, this is going to be awesome. Who are the creators? The artist, George Tuska. The writer, Bill Mantlo. What the fuck? I can't get away from Bill Mantlo, but
he just wrote everything in the 70s, apparently.
But it's too bad. We're doing it anyway, because I want to see Mr. Fish. Anyway.
I hope his real name is Ham Fisher.
His name is Mr. Fish. He's a giant fish guy, and he gets mad when people talk about his looks. So it's Mr. Fish.
This will be great.
Yeah, this book is exactly why Flea Market Fantasy was started.
Yep.
So you can find these bizarre stories from the 70s and 80s. And so I'm very excited about this.
Stuff that involved, people trying to fuck children.
Yes. But this Power Man run, it seems like every issue he was just fighting a different crazy villain. And this week it's Mr. Fish. So Power Man issue 29, 1975. That's next week on Flea Market Fantasy. Until then, thank you, Jank. And again, you can listen to us on everything, whatever, Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
What are they? Apple's?
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube's. Yeah, it's on the YouTube's. Everything you can hear us. So until next week, don't get any jank on you.